Man, I can't believe that this is how Dustbowl used to look. I wonder how it'd play out in Team Fortress 2. Let's take a quick look at the workshop and see if anybody's made anything. What? Nobody made a TF2 version? Well, I know what my next video is gonna be. Hello everybody! Welcome to my long overdue 1000 subscriber special. I've been wanting to put out something special ever since this channel reached 500 subscribers as a thank you for the rapid growth, and I'm happy to share with you all what I've been working on almost constantly for the past 2 weeks. Team Fortress Classic's Dustbowl ported into Team Fortress 2. Now before I start explaining how I did this, I want to inform all of you that this map is on the Steam Workshop right now, so you can install it yourself and explore it on your own. I'm also hosting this map on my Team Fortress 2 server for a little while, so if you have some friends you want to play with on this map, you can join my server through the IP down in the description below. And with that said, let's begin the video. So I've been fiddling around with the Hammer editor for quite a long time now, which in case you don't know is a mapping software that is used to create maps on source games like Half-Life, CSGO, and TF2. I first started learning how to use it to remove the invisible barriers, which are also called clip brushes, on several TF2 maps. And I just thought that knowing how to edit and create maps was super cool. So when I was exploring some of the maps on Team Fortress Classic for my history videos, I had this thought pin in the back of my head saying, what would this look like in Team Fortress 2? And while some of the older maps have been ported into TF2, like Avanti or the pre-Fortress 2 ones, nobody made one for Dustbowl, which caught me by surprise. Because Dustbowl, whether you like it or not, is a staple of Team Fortress 2, and many people have already created spin-offs of the map. They've changed its game mode to payload and capture the flag, they've changed the theme to Christmas or Halloween, and that's only scratching the surface. So I only thought it was fitting, given how you all enjoyed my Dustbowl history video and my familiarity with Hammer, to port over the old Dustbowl into TF2. Now let me tell ya, it was not easy. First of all, Team Fortress Classic uses an older version of the source engine called Gold Source, so I couldn't just copy the map file over to TF2. I had to use a program called WinBSPC to decompile the map, and I had to download an old Hammer version just to access it. But editing the map in that version of Hammer wouldn't suffice because I'd still be in Gold Source, so I had to save the decompiled map as a .vmf. That way I could import it into Hammer++, which uses the current source engine that TF2 uses. To put it short, this worked, but with a lot of caveats. First of all of the textures were missing because Team Fortress Classic has its own textures, so I had to locate and extract the textures using a program called GCFscape. I also noticed that a lot of textures were from Half-Life, so I had to locate and extract those too. Once I had the extracted texture files, I had to use a program called VTF-Edit to save the texture files in such a way that Hammer could read them. This took a long time, especially the textures for the fences and gates, because those had blue backgrounds that I had to remove in Photoshop. And for some weird reason, there's a little bit of blue left over in the texture because of VTF-Edit that I could just not figure out how to remove. So I am sorry about that. Once everything was textured, I added lighting to the map, both using a light_environment entity and a bunch of light_spot entities wherever a ceiling was. This process was also very tedious and took a long time, but really paid off in the end. But then I hit my first major roadblock. For some reason, when I'd compile the entire map, all of the lighting would disappear. When I asked people for help, they told me it was caused by one of my light_spot entities being submerged in a clip brush somewhere. But after many grueling hours of coordinating specific parts of the map, I was able to narrow the region down to this cluster of brushes, which did not have a light spot or anything wrong with the naked eye. So I turned them into entities and that fixed the issue, and I was able to move on. The next step was creating the game logic, because none of the pre-existing logic worked in this version of Source, which I'll admit was mostly copied over from TF2's Dustbowl. This consisted of things like setting up the announcer, round time, spawn rooms, resupply cabinets, cameras, and control points. I also took those hallways that were previously blocked off from my Dustbowl history video and turned them into funk_breakables, meaning you can just shoot them to access the hallway behind. In the original Team Fortress, they were passageways that would open up toward the end of the round to open up more routes for the attacking team. But I didn't like that and realized it wouldn't fit with the whole round setup time that TF2 uses, hence why I didn't set them up that way. And I also removed the reverse capture the flag element of the map and replaced it with the standard 3-stage, 2-control point attack defend mode that TF2's Dustbowl has. Then came my second major roadblock. For some reason, the funk_spawn room visualizer entities, which are those things that prevent you from walking into the enemy team's spawn, simply weren't working properly. I spent 2 days searching the web, trying different things and asking for help, until finally, a user by the name of Tifted showed me a setup that worked. Thanks to him, I'm able to make this video. Otherwise, I have no idea what I would have done. So once the logic was set up, I finished up the map by adding player clip brushes on high ledges and roofs, and then I was finished. I compiled the map, and boom, here we are. Now there are 2 things specifically that made this entire process a nightmare. One was these black squares and stretched brushes, and the other was how most of the map didn't line up nicely with the hammer grid. The former wasn't that bad, and I was able to fix most of it simply by turning the brush into an entity. The latter, however, was a pain in the... It left a bunch of breaks and extrusions in the walls all over the map, many of which caused lighting errors. When you play this map, I'm sure you will come across some, but I spent more than a reasonable amount of time fixing as many of them as I could. Looking back at everything I did, I'm happy with how everything turned out. It is by far one of the biggest projects I've ever done, and for sure the biggest one that I've done for this channel. Now, while I won't be making another map of this scale anytime soon, because I'd probably go insane, I do think it'd be cool to continue creating custom map content with silly ideas to host on my TF2 server for all of us to play. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of this idea and any ideas you may have. An example of something I'd do is a map with nearly all of the lights turned off, or turning one of those death run maps into a payload one. I don't know, you guys probably have a lot of creative ideas that are worth checking out, so comment those down below and I'll tally up a list. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. Maybe one day we'll reach 10,000 or 100,000, who knows? But until then, I am extremely grateful for the subscribers that I have right now, and I want you to know that your subscription, like, even comment, be it supportive or criticizing, is always appreciated. I will see you all later. This is LED, switching off.